Greetings, greetings, family. Sister Shanice in the house, and we are delighted to be going live and direct via YouTube. As you can see, we have our special guest in the house, none other than our esteemed brother, Leo Muhammad. Rise up, brother Leo Muhammad. How are
Greetings.
you?
I'm very well, sister. Greetings and big respect and love and honor to you, my sister. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to our conversation this evening.
The honor is all mine and all ours, my brother. We know how busy you are. We are indeed privileged that you are taking the time out to share your views, thoughts, and opinions with our audience today. There is so much happening in the world. And, we need to be having these conversations so that we're putting our spin and our narrative on the events as they unfold in the world today. And so, my brother, we're just going to give our audience a few minutes to come through the door. The live button should now be on my YouTube site. So as people visit YouTube, they will be able to find that live button. So family, as you come in the house, please do rise us up. Greet and welcome our beloved brother Leo Muhammad. And please do let us know where in the world you are watching us from as well. We want to know that you are in the house. And so, my brother, as our guests come through the door, those who watch us in replay will be watching us now. And so we want to give them a few nuggets straight away.
No problem, sister.
Family, those of you who know our brother Leo Muhammad will know that he is a giant within our community, a community activist, public speaker, comedian, someone who has had an outstanding career here in the UKKK. And he is an outspoken Black nationalist, Pan-Africanist, love his perspective and views and things. I want to hear, what he's got to say to us today. Family, you'll be able to put your views, thoughts, and opinions in the chat as well. So you'll be able to interact with us throughout the show. And if you're watching us on replay, do let us know your thoughts and opinions underneath the link as well, okay? And so as we are waiting for you to come through the door, let me see if I can just find my list of upcoming guests so that you know the lineup that we've got coming your way. So I want you to keep it locked here on the Sister Shanice Show every Wednesday evening. I just need you to be thinking, all right, Sister Shanice Show is Wednesday. That's right, got the radio show in the morning, 10 a.m. GMT time, and then 8 p.m. GMT time, we have the Sister Shanice Show where we have these wonderful guests. Brother Leo Muhammad, how have you been keeping?
Oh, sister, it's been, as you know, a very, very interesting time, that we're living in now. And we're a few days into the month of Ramadan. And so I'm fasting. I literally just had my first sip of water on your show, breaking my fast on your show. So
Let me join
um,
with some water, my brother.
absolutely, sister. And make sure that we just keep it at water.
Okay, yes, indeed. Well, I'm here on the continent in the Gambia, which is about 90% Muslim. And so almost the entire country is fasting, So I
Yeah,
have to, respect that. Don't go eating, make anybody see and feel even more hungry than them going hungry
that's
already,
right.
So, yeah,
But
we're
it's a beautiful thing. And in truth, if you're fasting and somebody else is eating, it shouldn't have any effect on you. You shouldn't feel bad, and you shouldn't decry that other person who is not necessarily of your faith, or maybe doesn't understand why you're fasting. You shouldn't necessarily feel any kind of way towards that person, because in truth, if you do, like for instance, when I'm fasting, I can go into the kitchen, I can cook for my family, I can cook for my children, for my wife, whatever. Because if you can't do that, then you're not really fasting. You might be starving. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference because fasting is voluntarily. You know what I mean? It's actually, the fast of Ramadan is actually obligatory on us who are Muslims. But nonetheless, it's something that you volunteer to do because there's so much beautiful reasoning behind why you're doing it. And it's so good for you in terms of your spiritual, in terms of your own self-development, your self-improvement. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It's a prescription fasting. It's like literally like medicine. And so, you know, you shouldn't really feel bad if somebody's eating and you're fasting. You need to just relax and just take your time, and you know, your time for eating will come once the break fast time comes.
And of course, there are all the health benefits as well.
Absolutely, my sister.
Yeah.
And if you study the scriptures, if you study the old sages, all of the great people from our past in our history, you'll see that all of them employed the institution of fasting. Fasting is, especially for us in the global south, especially for us who are coming from the great mother continent of Africa, fasting is not something unusual for us. It's something that we have practiced for many, many millennia. And it's only in the West where people see it as some type of unusual deprivation. But for us as an original people, it's always been something that we've employed, as you said, for health benefits, because it's a tremendous thing. And also, as you know, in the Nation of Islam, we go by the scriptures, which says that it helps us to stay away from evil and indecency.
Oh,
It's a wonderful thing when you can have a cupboard or a fridge or a kitchen full of food, and your head can have such control that you can say to your stomach, you are not eating today. That demonstrates that as a man, as a woman, you are in control of everything which is beneath this. And this is the controller. This is what's supposed to be in charge of everything beneath it. And so it's a wonderful thing. If you can discipline yourself from that which is natural, which is food and drink, then you can discipline yourself from any unnatural urges, desires, be it smoking, drinking alcohol, you know what I mean, overconsumption of sexual relations or anything like that. If you can control your stomach, with this, you can control everything else in your life. You can be very disciplined.
Oh, wow. Well, let's put a challenge out there. Who's going to do some fasting to see if you can control, so you can get your mind to control your appetite, because you know what it's like. Well, for some of us anyway, it's really difficult when the belly starts to rumble,
No, you're too slim. You're too slim for that, sister. Yeah. I can tell that you're not an indulgent person when it comes to food.
Fade away if I eat any less. Welcome, family. As you come through the door, please do hit us up in the chat. Let us know where in the world that you are watching us from. I can see we've got the Jamaican Jankra in the house. Rise up. The Jamaican Jankra is watching us from Tennessee in the USA. Big up yourself, Jamaican Jankra. We've also got Danny Fluffy in the house, watching us from Rugby in the UKKK. Welcome. Also, Beanie Maroon saying greetings, and brother Leo. Greetings, Black Action. Good to know that you are in the house. We also have, we got a couple more messages from the Jamaican Jankra and a Beanie Maroon. Come on, hit us up in the chat. Jamaican Jankra say, in America, we saw a mandatory fasting food gone sky high. What a thing is. Brother Leo, same thing in the UKKK. I mean, fuel prices, petrol prices, energy prices, food prices is rocketing here as well. People are talking about having to make the decision between fuel and food. It is that bad. I mean, what have you got to say about what's going on right now, my brother?
If I'm honest with you, my dear sister, I'm a member of the Nation of Islam, following the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught and exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And whether the masses of our people know it or not, we in the nation, we've been warned consistently for many, many years that literally famine is coming to Europe, that famine is coming to North America, that this is something that, again, we've been used to seeing our brothers and sisters in various parts of the African continent suffer from malnutrition and all manner of privation when it comes to a manufactured shortage of food. So we've seen literally little children in Ethiopia and other parts starved to death, in Biafra and other parts of the continent starved to death, manufactured deliberately by Western powers who have manipulated resources to such a degree that those people had to suffer in that way. We have never seen this in Europe. We've never seen this in North America. But whether people really appreciate it or not, or understand or not, we are right now in the beginning of that type of process where famine is on the way. And these are all signs that we are looking at now, where you see, for instance, as you mentioned, shortages on the shelves of the supermarkets. We had a little hint of it at the beginning of the so-called COVID-19 pandemic, when the shelves were emptied in the supermarkets. Well, we're going to revisit again, and it's going to be 100 times worse than anything that we saw during the pandemic. And I say this, sister, in truth, again, it's one of the reasons why, as men in particular, we must learn how to fast. Because you see, in that time, we're going to have to make sure that our women and our children are able to eat, when maybe as men we may have to go a day or 2 or 3 without food, and continue to function and to maintain and keep the family and to keep the community and the nation going. And so this is something very, very serious. Ukraine is known to be, I think they call it the breadbasket of Europe. And when you see this type of conflagration unfolding in Ukraine, it's only a matter of time before those wheat fields and the actual supply chain of the food stuff that comes from there. Lots of African countries rely on these places for flour and other types of grains or whatever. So it's only a matter of time before these things begin to ill affect the continent, begin to ill affect us, who unfortunately, even in the Caribbean, where, literally, sister, you can spit and something will grow. That's how fertile much of the land is in the Caribbean. But unfortunately, because of bad leadership, many of the Caribbean countries now import food from America, import food from Canada, import food from Europe, which is absolutely ridiculous. And so, this is a real serious issue which is unfolding. We're warned that Europe, not only are we looking at famine, but that Europe will soon become a theater of war. This is something that we have to understand about this conflict in the Ukraine, which is not really something that's confined between Russia and the Ukraine. This is really a proxy war between America, NATO, and Russia, and China. All of these nations, this is why it's a global, this is why we're ultimately looking at a third world war type of scenario. And then if you go to the scriptures, it's described as the war or the battle of Armageddon. And this is where all of the armies of the world gather together and they go to war in order to see who is going to win the spoils, who ultimately is going to come out on top. And so, it's unfortunate. My sister, I wasn't around for the Second World War, but the reality is that this is where the world right now is heading to. And because of our condition as a people in the continent, in the Caribbean, and those of us who are diasporians in Europe, in England, it's unfortunate that because we haven't done the types of things that we needed to do in terms of our collective unity, in terms of our collective interest, we have been hoodwinked as a people into not thinking collectively. We've been hoodwinked into believing that we can be entrepreneurial, selfish, self-centered, all about me. And as a result of that, we are a divided and a conquered people. And then what that does is it puts us in a very bad place when it comes to war or any type of international crisis, because we're unlike other people who will move as a united front and will have plans in place to protect and to maintain themselves. We don't have that as black people, as African people. And this is a huge problem that must be focused on, concentrated on, and rectified in short order, because the Creator is merciful, sister. And the Creator loves us as a people. We are His people. But His patience is only so much. And we have to, as a people, stop talking unity and start walking unity. There's a big difference. And we do a lot of talking about it. But, you know, I'll close on this point, sister. Please forgive me for going on. But, you know, as a married man, one of the things I've learned is that marriage is not easy. You know, people have got this Hollywood thing, you know, they got excited when Charles and Diana got married, and we saw how that ended, because it's a fairy tale, beloved. It's a joke. There's no such thing. Okay, we saw Andrew and Fergie, and again we got excited. Oh, it's a fairy tale, beloved. It doesn't work. It's a nonsense. The reality of marriage is really hard work. And when we take our vows on that particular day, we are not married. We have made our intentions known in the public before witnesses that we are going to try to make these vows, make our word bond, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, till death us do part. And even though the male and the female are designed by the Creator to complement one another, and to come together and to be in partnership together, sister, it is an absolute non-stop labor of love to maintain that relationship and to build that relationship, and in fact to grow more in love instead of less in love as the relationship develops and unfolds. But what that means is that there is no such thing as a genuine marriage that does not have to weather storms in order for that marriage to succeed. There'll always be storms. And how you know that you have a strong, successful marriage is because you come through those storms and you remain together at the end. Well, that's the same situation, that's the same attitude we need to have towards our unity. And unfortunately, we don't have that attitude. As soon as there's the least argument between the different groups or factions within this talk of unity, we break apart. Talk to him. You understand what I'm saying? We don't have any patience. We don't have any longevity in our mentality when it comes to how we do this unity thing. Okay, and this is what needs to change, and you know, we have to humble ourselves in truth, and allow ourselves to go back to school. You know, in the Nation of Islam, we are first and foremost students. Students. What does that mean? It means that we should be studying. It means that we should be learning twice as much as we're teaching others. And unfortunately for many of us, our egos are so inflated that we just want to be the teacher. We want to be the leader, but we don't want to be a student. We don't want to study. And what's the study? The study is self, because we love to point the finger, that one and that one and this one and that one, and this not right. But whenever you're pointing that finger, as you know, my sister, there are three fingers pointing back. Okay, and we need to do introspection, because if I improve myself as an individual, the whole world improves. So that's the lesson that we have in the Nation of Islam. It's called self-improvement, the basis for community development. Self-improvement, the basis for community development. And that's what needs to happen now. All of us need to go on a course of self-improvement in order to develop the black community, in order to redevelop the black family, in order to redevelop that strong, powerful black unity. Sorry to go on, my sister.
No, no apologies needed. This floor, this platform is yours today, my brother. We're delighted to hear from you. And already, you've kickstarted with some very insightful and thoughtful remarks that we all need to be considering very seriously indeed. And, as you was describing there in terms of, building family relationships and relationships that last, and that it's hard work, equally so on a global level, on an international level. It's about us building those relationships with our brothers and sisters across the world, wherever they may be. And the expectation is there as well that the African governments, alongside the Caribbean governments, will be building relationships, working at those relationships, and trying to make sure that, what comes out of it is in the best interest of the people and everyone. You started off where we were talking about the likelihood of famine, hitting Europe. Something that you said, you've been preparing for in the Nation of Islam for some time. And I know even here where I am in the Gambia, the former president was telling the people, to grow the food you eat and eat the food you grow.
Is that Yahya? You're talking about?
Jami, he was warning the people, telling the people, and even, from a Pan-Africanist perspective on our radio station, the Big G Galaxy Afiwi, the only de-brainwashing station, we have been encouraging our people to grow their own vegetables. If you don't have a garden, to get an allotment, but, to do what you can, to be supplementing and providing for your own food source, even if it's potatoes that you're growing in the garden, grow bags, whatever you can. This is serious.
Absolutely.
So all the warnings have been coming for years, and it is going to be hitting quite soon. So people, I hope you've been growing those fruit trees and those vegetable patches and everything else. Serious times ahead indeed. And it's going to get worse. We are going to be the first as well that they're going to be cutting off the supplies to. When I say we, those of us in the African world, who are used to getting their wheat and their other produce imported, where I am at the moment, farming is, almost non-existent. And it is a crime. It's criminal to have such fertile land and not to be growing food, fruits and vegetables on every inch of that fertile land. We've got to change our mindset from this dependency kind of model that we've been left with post-colonialism, and to move towards total independent in every way. Let's go over to the chat for a little while, shall we, and see what our brothers and sisters have been saying, and also, and then we'll come back and we'll formally introduce you so that those who may be watching and have never met you before can get to know a little bit about who you are, Brother Leo Muhammad. Okay, so starting from the bottom, yes, Jamaican Drunkard rising up the chat saying, yes, indeed, the greatest journey is the journey with him. Most definitely. And, as our brother was saying, we've been so corrupted in the West in terms of the miseducation that we have been given about, what our priorities ought to be. And it comes really for me from the Thatcher era in the 80s, where it's all about self-employment, being an entrepreneur and getting your own place and moving out, not living with the extended family, but, looking after self, having a family aside so that you can pursue a career, all about self, not about building the family, not about building the community, not about building nations and our culture and everything like that. And so, there's a whole generation that has been damaged by this miseducation. It really is. We've got Italis in the house saying respect. We've got Abini saying race, royalty first. Absolutely. Also saying absolutely, Brother Leo, actions speak louder than words. Enough fire ablaze for you. And Seeing Child is saying such a shame that Africans have all the most fertile land and scroll back down, have the most fertile land and allow their misleaders to have them dependent on Europe. Crying shame indeed. People in the chat agreeing with your sentiments there. Rise up, Mondeli, rising us up. Everyone, as you come in, please also give us a thumbs up as well. Enough rising up in the chat. Kwame Ossie in the house. Rise Up is saying there is hunger already in the UK, KK. Some white people cannot afford to buy good food, and they starve themselves and feed their children instead. Famine is already in the UK, KK. There you have it, family. Someone from the UK telling us that famine is already happening in the UK, KK, and it's gonna get worse. Rise up, Sister Itana. My assistant here has been helping me to pull all the wonderful guests that we've got lined up for you. Family, wow. Just keep it locked to the Sister Shanice show. We've got our brother Leo Muhammad in the house, and strong after strong, some of you might say week after week, more great guests coming through the door thanks to the works of our Sister Itana. Rise up yourself, Sister Itana. Okay, let me go over to our brother's CV, because I want to just pluck some bits from his CV for the family, so that you can get to know a little bit about our brother Leo Muhammad, someone whom we've had the privilege and honor of getting to know over the decades and here in the UK. Okay, right, where is my Word document? Just going to swing over to Word. Okay, there's a Word document, and let me just drop down to the CV. So keep it locked, family. Keep your messages coming in the chats. We are going to be reading out your messages. If you have any questions, thoughts, and opinion, we welcome those as well. Family, we are delighted to have in the house our brother Leo Muhammad, community activist, public speaker, comedian. Brother Leo Muhammad, I remember you from the days of your acting career back in the early 80s and in the early 90s. And wow, my brother, the real Mccoy was off the hook. Those were the days, family, when if you saw a black person on the television, some of you might say the television, you would be like, family, come look, somebody, the African, a black person's on the TV. And one of the faces we regularly see is our brother Leo Muhammad. My brother, I wonder if you could just tell us about those days and what it was like for you being that face on the television, representing us as Africans in the UKKK and around the world. Share with the family what that was about.
Yes, ma'am. It was a beautiful time. It was a time when, as black comedians in the United Kingdom, we were kind of like just beginning to come into our own, in the sense that we were developing something called the Black Comedy Club, which was stand-up comedy really taking off for the first time on any real level in the UK, where we had a series of black comedians coming up, double acts like Curtis and Ishmael. In those days, Jefferson and Whitfield. You had two sisters called Short, Sharp and Shocking. That was Luella Gideon and Colette Johnson. Unfortunately, we've lost Colette now. We had people like Felix Dexter, he was on the white circuit, actually performing on the white comedy circuit, but he would come over now and then to the black side, and he ultimately became a part of the real Mccoy as well. But basically, the BBC had a gap in their programming, and this white producer, Charlie Hanson, who was responsible for many previous black shows like Desmond's and other, I think there was No Problem, I think he was involved in that, producing that. Well, Charlie Hanson saw a gap in the market and wanted to create another black show on the BBC, and they didn't seem to have much of an idea about exactly what it was that they wanted to do, but they saw me performing on stage. They headhunted myself. They asked me if I would come in to the BBC to have a conversation with them, which I did. And they proposed this idea of a black comedy sketch show. When I asked Charlie, any idea what you would call the show, whatever, he did this with his fingers, and he said, when black people flick their fingers, we'd call it flick. And I thought to myself, that is so lame. And at the time, my sister, I was studying the black inventor, Elijah Mccoy. And Elijah McCoy's inventions were so awesome. They were so good. He invented various lubricants like oil and things of that nature. He invented something called a drip cup. And this drip cup is what goes into the internal combustion engines of cars and other types of machinery that allows the engines to be continuously oiled whilst they're running. Before that invention, machinery had to be turned off to be oiled, and so production would be lost and whatever. But when Elijah invented the drip cup, it really took production to a whole different level. So I was reading about this man called Elijah Mccoy, and so I suggested to the BBC, what about the real Mccoy? And I remember when I first suggested it, they kind of like frowned a little bit, okay. And then about 3 weeks later, they came back to me and said, we're going to go with the real Mccoy. So that's how it got its name. And, we were on the BBC for 5 years, 5 series, 6 episodes a series. And initially, they were trying to build it around Curtis and Ishmael as a double act. It didn't work out after the first series. It didn't really work because, unfortunately, our brother Ishmael got himself into a little bit of trouble with some substance abuse or whatever. And because they'd employed them as a double act, they basically got rid of them as a double act. And then they began to build the show around myself and Robbie G and Eddie Nestor, and Mira Sayal was brought in, who is an Asian actress and writer. And we went from there. And the beauty about the real McCoy sister, I think what the difference was with this show is that a lot of people may not appreciate that when you watch Desmond's, when you watch The Fosters, when you watch some of these other shows that were before, many of those shows, they were written by Caucasians. They were written by white people. And so, for instance, if you remember Lenny Henry, I think in The Fosters, you would hear Lenny Henry say, as the character in The Fosters, the young boy in The Fosters, he would say something like, "Dynamite." Now, as black people coming from a Caribbean background, we never said dynamite. It was just never something in our vocabulary. Yeah. So you would get those types of instances which we just couldn't really identify. But as you rightly said, just having black people on the television was enough. We would still run and watch the show. We would run and watch Tom Jones because we thought just because he could move a little bit like a black man, we would watch Tom Jones. Do you understand what I'm saying? The singer. Yeah. So the difference between those shows and the real McCoy was that it was really the first time that as black artists and performers, we wrote the sketches and perform them ourselves. So I was one of the principal writers on that show. And what I was trying to do, because my comedy had evolved from what you might call general stand-up comedy. My comedy had evolved very quickly after I began performing into what I called edutainment. And so I didn't coin the phrase. I took the phrase from our great rapper, KRS-One. That brother from America who was a conscious rapper. I took the term from him. That's the term he used to describe his music, and I used it to describe my comedy. And so it was a combination of education and entertainment mixed, edutainment. And so what I would try to do, because I was also at the time when I was doing this stand-up and coming into the real McCoy, I was also at the same time becoming a registered member of the Nation of Islam. And so this wonderful, powerful, invincible teaching that I was receiving from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I had to try to infuse that into everything that I was doing on the stage. And so I was following in the tradition of the ancient African griots, telling stories, weaving stories together and making, like, I don't know if I'm a Jamaican, I can remember even as a child sitting on the veranda in the evening in Jamaica where I tell story, Brown Nancy and the rest, and it's that type of thing where you would just laugh, you would have tears running down your face and you'd have a pain in your side because you're just making each other laugh like that. And I was pretty good at doing that. And then I just then put my pen to paper and wrote sketches that were designed to make our people laugh, but at the same time make our people nod and say, that's true. Mm-hmm. So there was that thinking component that was in the sketches. Yeah. And we did things like the Rodney King beating. We did a political spin on the carnival. We did the BNP office, the British National Party, the racist. We did all kinds of stuff. We did Clinton and Major, who was in power at the time, the president and the prime minister, but we turned them black, pretending to be white. We did so many different types of political type sketches, and the show became a huge hit. And they had it on BBC Two. It was at the time when we were reading the figures, they were saying something like 2 million views, which was unheard of on BBC Two for a brand new show like that. And then what we were told by some of our white collaborators was that if that was a white show and it was getting 2 million views, it would have had money pumped into it, and it would have been switched to BBC One. That never happened with The Real McCoy. Instead, what we experienced was maybe some sabotage. You understand? And so we lasted for, like I said, 5 years, 5 series, and then all of a sudden they just pulled it because each year it was going from strength to strength. And our people were really enjoying and loving that show because, as I said, it was authentic. When we spoke in our Jamaican accents or Bayesian accents on the show, we didn't try to make it understandable to the white audience. We kept it authentic. And as a result, our people loved it. It was the first time that we'd be running home to tape a show. You understand what I'm saying? The Real McCoy. And so it was a wonderful experience. And it put my face into millions of people's living rooms. And even now, in the last time that was aired on terrestrial television was in 1995. That was the last showing of the last series. And this is 2022. And there is hardly a day that I can walk along the road and somebody doesn't come up to me and talk to me about The Real McCoy. And not only do they say it nostalgic, but they're saying they were watching it last night on YouTube. So it's still, it's so iconic and so powerful a show that people are still today watching, laughing, and getting inspiration from some of the things that we attempted to do in that show, my sister.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. It was phenomenal. We loved it in our household as well. And still continue to enjoy those clips as they float around social media,
Yes.
They're really good. But, as you said, it was edutainment. So it was, educational and, soft politics as well, coming through the comedy. And they didn't want that. And as well, the popularity that was being built around it, they didn't want, obviously, a black show in the UK to be that successful, because we know underneath all of their efforts, to try and convince us by having the odd one or two shows that, the BBC is not racist. It's far from the truth. So no surprises that they pulled the plug on it. The only disappointment is that, there wasn't a black television company that could have picked up on it and run with it.
And the sad thing, Sister Shanice, is that in the black community, we have the talent.
Yeah.
Okay, even when I was at the BBC, believe me, we got lighting people, we got sound people, we got producers, we got directors, and guess where we are? We're working on many of these shows that you see on the TV now. Behind the scenes is us. Okay, but we got the skills, we got the talents. It's not like, we're some decrepit people who haven't got those skills and those talents. But the sad reality is that we won't come together, pool resources, and do it for ourselves. We want Channel 4 to do it for us. We want the BBC to do it for us. We want, so-called mainstream media to tell our story, which they will never do. And we can't blame, how can you ask them to tell our story? Only we can tell our story.
Absolutely. And you were so phenomenal, my brother, in those times. You won a number of awards as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about those awards that you won?
Yeah, I mean, I was winning, I've won quite a few awards. In truth, I was a Comedian of the Year, Hackney Empire. I was comedian. So many times, sister, I can't really even remember, to be honest with you. I've got them somewhere. They're not on display, but I've got them in a box. Some of the things that I think I even got a lifetime achievement on one occasion. And I think the last award I received and got was from the Black Carpet Awards, which was only a couple of years ago. They were still awarding me for the works over the years. But, those things were, I was greatly honored by the black community for that type of recognition, and also from some of those other institutions, because the Hackney Empire is not a black institution, but nonetheless they recognized me as the comedian of the year, because we were, in those days, we were really shaking up the place. As I said, we were coming into our own in this country for the first time, being stand-up comedians, and we were making a name for ourselves, and we were, in a sense, putting a stamp on black people. For the first time, you were hearing authentic Caribbean accents and African accents on the stage, and it was black men and black women, and many of them have gone on now to do great things. You got like people like Gina Yashere or whatever. All of these people, they were all there in those beginning days that I'm talking about, making their bones. Richard Blackwood, I remember Richard Blackwood. I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, but I can remember him shaking like a leaf backstage, as a youngster, as a newcomer to the whole comedy thing. And I gave him a little pep talk, and I remember he went out and had a fantastic show. I remember we got him onto the Real Mccoy to again have a debut for TV on the Real Mccoy. He did a great job on that occasion as well as a young brother, and then he went on to do great things. And so many people got their start, got their break. People like Jeff Schumann, again, got a little break on the Real Mccoy, and so on and so forth. And so there are many names out there. Sister Angela Lamar, all of them got their start via the Real McCoy. And so the Real McCoy was used as a vehicle for that type of thing as well. It was for established people, actors, like myself and others who were, kind of like, the mainstay of the show. But nonetheless, we were always trying to introduce new people, bring in new people, new talent, showcase new talent, singers as well as comedians. And also what we did in the pub that we created, the Rubber Dub, was that where we were basically mocking EastEnders. We had characters on there. I was the character who was Grant. Do you remember those two? Their surname, the brothers. But I was the one. I was Grunt.
Yeah, Phil.
Grunt the racist with the ginger hair and the swastika on his cheek or whatever. But in the Rubber Dub, we would bring in established black stars. So we had Frank Bruno come on, we had Lennox Lewis, we had Ian Wright, we had so many different people come on there, again, just make an entrance and whatever. So it was a great show, and it was really putting us as a people in the UK on the map.
Mm-hmm. It was absolutely phenomenal. It really was. And, it's such a shame that after they pulled the plug on it, as I said, that we weren't able to pick it up and run with it. And that is a real problem that I have actually about our creative and artistic business side of things. Because a video was circulating about a recent Best Reggae Album Grammy Award thing that was given to non-Jamaicans, non-Africans. The whole world knows that Jamaicans are the creators, the inventors, the innovators when it comes to reggae. Yeah, they created the whole genre, just as, you're talking about the black circuit during the 90s that was created by comedians like yourself, and the whole music industry around Lovers Rock that we created. And at the same time, Jamaica was just booming with all of its reggae and everything. The geniuses that we've got within our community, the creativity, the artistic ones that we've got, the culture that we can create, but we don't take care of the business side.
That's right.
For example, you've got music, business, but we take care of music and others take care of the business. And we've seen it happen with the jazz, the rap, the hip hop, now reggae. You know, do we not value our culture enough to want to protect the business side of it?
Sister, I mean, imagine, do you appreciate, for instance, that sound system?
Right.
Sound system. That is something that's grassroots, that's built up. I can remember being in Jashaka and King Tubby and these dance and standing next to speaker boxes bigger than myself, Coxon and speaker boxes bigger than myself, and being shook off my feet by the bass. Now, did you know, sister, that in the last several years, sound system, global sound system, world championships have been held, and that countries like Japan have been winning? Japan. Okay, because we're the only people, again, you see, who will develop cultural things which are uniquely ours and then give them away.
Yes.
It's sad. I mean, it's very sad.
We bring them in, make
That's
them
right.
become drummer, make them become bass guitar, make them
There you
become
go.
singer. We bring them in
There you
and
go.
they study. Them study and study and study.
That's
you know,
right.
everything where we do, and then, like I said, then take it out and run with it.
And we hand it
and
over.
feed them and say,
That's
and
right.
come, and 10 years later, 2 decades later, they're saying that they are the creators and they are the inventors of it.
Well, I mean, you know, think.
Why
I
do
mean,
we
just,
not take care of our business? Why do we not value our culture and value the richness of our culture? Jamaica, for example, me, the rest of them and others are bar say, you know, Jamaica, they don't even play reggae on the radio stations in Jamaica. They have no respect for reggae. Yet a reggae put Jamaica on the map. A reggae and the culture of reggae that brings in tourism, that makes everybody have the respect that it has, that knows about. It's through the reggae we know about the beautiful paradise country of Jamaica. If it was down to the BBC, all we would be seeing is Shack City in Jamaica.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But the reggae artists, they have transformed the image of Jamaica and powerful medium and platform. But for them government, no.
But you see,
radio.
But you see, sister, why? Because now the parlance is Rodigan. Okay, so that's been given to Rodigan. Rodigan is the king of reggae music. He is the godfather. You see, but this is what I'm saying.
No, Rodigan, he is a white man who's been into reggae and been studying reggae here in the UK for many, many years at the feet of, you know, many Jamaican artists, and is running away with all of the awards now on all of the titles, like a him make reggae and a him bring reggae and a him now drop it now say nothing.
Westwood.
We have to have, you know, a European face, you know, at the helm of something that we create before we realize as a people its value.
Yes.
Westwood
is the king of hip hop. Westwood is the #1 promoter of hip hop. Westwood is another white man who is now at the head of, you know, recognition for promoting and pushing hip hop, in particular, in truth, you know, this genre of gangster rap and all this kind of stuff. But you see, sister, you see, what we have to appreciate in truth is that as a people, you know, you said it earlier on, you talked about the miseducation. And one of the things that needs to happen is that as a people, we have to regain our self-confidence.
Yes.
It's very sad, my dear sister, but many black people today, many Africans today are absolutely ashamed of self. We have fallen for a narrative about ourselves, and even though many of us will front as if, you know, we have accepted ourselves, in truth, we are a people with a particular color skin, but the mind is white. And this is not just in the diaspora, this is even on the continent. This is why, for instance, we will tolerate these kind of misleaders that we have at the present time, who are more beholden to Westminster and Washington and Paris than they are to the black populations that they govern over. That's why they study at Sandhurst and they study at Eton and they study in these places. That's why they skim the resources, the money from our people, the continent being extremely rich, but they impoverish the country by stealing and having the City of London ready to accept the money and to launder that money for them and to make them, favored people in the eyes of European states. This is the reality. Now, this has to change. And it literally comes down to basic education again of our people, which is why I emphasize again why we have to become students of self. Why we have to begin once again to appreciate self. See, as I'm talking to you, my sister, I can see myself reflected back on the screen. And I make no apology to anybody. When I see myself in the mirror, I love what I see. See, I'm in love with this black man. And this is what's missing a lot of the time now from our people. We don't love self. This is why we're constantly trying to add something to ourselves. We got to change the color of our hair, or we got to put some blue contacts in our eyes, or we've got to cover our skin in tattoos so that we can have red and yellow and blue rather than that beautiful black hue that was given to us by our Creator. This is some serious stuff that's going on in the black global family. Whereby we've been made insecure. We've been made to believe that we are inferior. And unfortunately, many of our people are still susceptible to this type of brainwashing, this type of propaganda, this type of negative narrative. And that must change. And we have to instill a love of self and into our children, man. And we have to be bold in the manner in which we approach this type of issue, because it's, again, as I said, it's very unfortunate, but the current leadership, we got a problem there, sis. We have a real problem there. And that leadership has to change. Some of these young people who are coming through, man, we got some very beautiful young people. And they're looking to the elders for guidance. And the unfortunate thing is that when they look to the elders, a lot of the times they've been misguided by the elders, beloved. And this is the problem. You see, because the African way and the African tradition says, and it's codified even in scripture, it says, old men for counsel, young men for war. See, and traditionally we have the elders, and the youth sit at the foot of the elders, and they are guided and advised in the way to do things. Well, that whole system is now broken down when it comes to the black community. Again, you said it earlier on, sister, in one of your remarks earlier on, you talked about, this mentality, for instance, where you see you can find among Asian people, you will find among Eastern European people, you will find among them a certain mentality where they will stay all together in a house, pooling resources until one of them can move out and buy another house, and then they will look after each other again in that new place, and they will keep building like that. They will stay together. And they won't run out of the house as soon as they turn 15 or 16. They will stay and they will help their father and their uncle and their mother and their auntie. And they will build what's called legacy. They will build something that can be built upon. But with us now, most black youth, the way in which they've been orientated, they can't wait to leave the home. And say there are 4 siblings in that house. 2 girls and 2 boys. each of them, when they get to 15 or 16, that if they make it that far, even in terms of the household in their parents' house, and that's even if the two parents are there, because we have a tremendous problem of single parent families. And by the way, all of this is by design. Okay, I don't want to put all the blame on us. We have been a targeted people, but the reality is that what happens is that as soon as we get to 15, 16, 17, 18, we're out, we're gone. And then imagine you got a family where mum and dad are paying a mortgage if they have a house, or they're paying rent depending on the circumstances. You got child one, the girl, the oldest girl, she's paying rent or paying mortgage for her place. Child two, the second oldest child, who's a boy, he's paying rent or mortgage in his own separate place. Child three, again, the next youngest daughter, she's paying rent or mortgage in her place. And the last one paying rent or mortgage in, and it's nonsensical. There's just no sense. Instead of everybody coming together,
Right.
and living in one nice big house,
Right.
building up their resources so that they've got some legacy, we've got something to you see. And again, this is miseducation. This is because, again, we have been orientated into a mindset which is not our own, because we never used to be like this, sister. We never used to be like this. But again, you got to remember that for the last 400 plus years, we have been under the tutelage of a wicked system, which was never designed, like so many of us now. Okay, we kind of gloss over slavery. Oh yeah, that was a bad thing. Okay, so the Jim Crow and the lynchings that took place in America, and the civil rights era, and the racism in UK in the 70s and the 80s, and the sus law and all of these things. We gloss over that. Okay, that was then, but now we're equal. Now we're the same as white people. Now we're on the same footing. Now we can run with it. We're so foolish. We're so foolish. No, you're not the same. You're not on the same level. We're not on the same footing. We do not earn the same. We are not getting the same income for the same jobs that we are doing. And then again, people don't understand how black people, we're so secretive that none of us is discussing with the other one how much we're earning for that particular job that we're doing. So the white guy who is doing the same job that black man is doing, he's on 35 grand a year. The black man's on 25 grand a year, 10 grand less. But because black people don't talk to each other about what they're earning, even in the same company or the same firm, they're keeping their little pay packet close to their chest. So then there's no collective bargaining, there's no unionizing of our wages or nothing like that. So we don't even know what's going on with our brother. So because we've been made into these individuals. See, so this is our problem, sister. There's a real crisis that will continue, and it will get worse until we as a people recognize that we are our brother's keeper, that we are our sister's keeper, that we are a family. I'm always amazed at how Europeans are able to recognize each other wherever they are on the planet. Okay, what I mean is that an airplane goes down in Borneo tomorrow, and all the people on that plane are basically from Borneo, but there's two white people, one from the Ukraine and one from Britain. On the news, you will hear, if you don't hear about the Ukrainian, you will hear about that lone British person who went down with that plane, beloved. Why? Because they honor and respect their own. But you think if there was a Nigerian on there, that we're going to hear anything from the Nigerian government? You think we're going to hear anything from the Jamaican government if there was a Jamaican on there? No, because we don't do collectivity, and we have to begin to do collectivity. We must understand that in our unity there's tremendous strength. We are a very strong people. We're a very powerful people. Go all the way back to our great brother Kwame Nkrumah. He talked about the United States of Africa. The last and greatest exponent of that idea was Muammar Gaddafi. But many of us, again, turn around, like Gaddafi, he's an Arab. Let me tell you something. See, again, one of the things that we have to learn to do, sister, is recognize who our actual friends are. You see, because there's an argument going on now, even in relation to who we're going to stand with. Are we going to stand with Russia, or are we going to stand with our former slave masters and their children? The same people that we're begging for justice every single day, and we still can't get it. We can't get reparations. We can't get compensation for the Windrush scandal and all the rest of the stuff that these people keep doing to us. Look at Child Q just the other day, and it goes on and on and on. Our footballers are still getting bananas chucked at their foot by so-called British football supporters or whatever. Nothing has changed. Oh, kick racism out of football. Shut up. It's not good. It's not going to get kicked out. It's a reality, because that's the psyche and the mentality of the racists here. But my point is this, sister, there was a particular point I wanted to make in relation to,
recognizing our friends and our enemies.
Right, exactly. Thank you, sister. This situation in the Ukraine. See, I've actually got a picture somewhere. I haven't got it with me. If I had it and I was sharing the screen, I would show the people. See, because I can show you Vladimir Putin in uniform in Africa with freedom fighters.
Yes, I've seen that image. Yeah.
Okay. See, because when we were in the bush as guerrillas fighting against Western imperialism and apartheid and racism, it was Russians quite often that would allow us to come and study, and we became Marxist and communist or whatever, and but nonetheless, they were the ones who were supplying us with our Kalashnikovs to fight against Western imperialism. And so I just want us to think today and to be non-emotional and rational in our deliberations when it comes to this conflict that we see going on. Because it was only the other day that an African country was attacked, Libya, and destroyed as a reality, and had the sovereign head of state murdered on television, live television. And now they've opened up now, AFRICOM and all of these other entities are now all over Africa, because since Libya was destroyed, that was the gateway for the West to come in under Obama and Clinton, Hillary. And now they're running roughshod over the African continent. And, understand, you got Boris Johnson now talking about using Africa as some type of staging post to vet refugees. But how? How is Johnson talking about Rwanda, an African country, as if that African country is a part of Britain, as if that African country is a suburb of the British economy? It's sick, sister. But only we, as Africans, would allow that type of intrusion, that type of abuse to be taking place, where it's just like an open door. I'll end on this, sister, because I'll just ramble all day.
My brother, you're saying what needs to be said.
Sister. I was blessed several years ago, in truth, to go to South Africa House when the deputy head of the African Union, she was a sister that came over here to give a talk. And she said something that night, sister, which really hit me so hard. And I literally went home that evening somewhat depressed. Because what the sister said was, she said that every nation on earth has got a foreign policy on Africa and African nations. If you go to Ukraine tomorrow, if you go to Venezuela, whatever, they will have their foreign policy when it comes to how they deal with Africa. But she said the African nations are the only nations on the planet who don't have a foreign policy in terms of how we deal with outside nations.
That's
And I
it.
said, nah, I said, nah, man, come on. It left me absolutely depressed, sister. Because you see, what that means is that when you hear about African nations negotiating with the EU, or negotiating with America, or negotiating with China, or negotiating with any of these other so-called global or world powers, it means that we come to that table, sister, without any agenda of our own. We're waiting for them to tell us what they are about to do with us, and we can agree or disagree, or we can beg them to maybe change a clause here, or change a comma there, or add a little bit more spice there, or put a little bit more money on the table here. But that's effectively our position, our attitude. And it's, beloved, what does that mean? That means that as a people, we're going to be suffering for an extremely long time with that kind of leadership, with that kind of mentality. And I don't want to give the viewers and the listeners the wrong impression, because I can tell you now, we got some serious people on this planet right now with this hue, okay? Women and men, young and old, who are moving and shaking this planet, because it's our time now. The problem is that I always use the analogy of a woman giving birth. Okay, I've been blessed, my sister, to be there at the birth of several of my children, and in fact to deliver the children myself. Just me and my wife in the room. And what I've learned from that experience, from those experiences, is that almost every woman giving birth gets to a point in the process where she thinks, you know what, I can't do this. This is impossible. This is going to kill me. And they will squeeze your hand, they will bite you, they will, because it's so painful. I remember a sister asking my wife one time, what's it like? Because she's pregnant. She's asking my wife, what's it, can you tell me what? And my wife said to her, sister, that's an experience you have to have yourself, because it's undescribable. You cannot describe that level of pain. But the pain is one thing. But the other thing that happens during birth is that there is always blood. There is no such thing as a bloodless birth. And so we're living in a time, my dear sister, when there is a new birth about to take place. It's the rebirth of the African. It's the rebirth of the black man, the original woman. It's our time to be born again into a whole new reality. But accompanying that birth is pain and blood. And for many of us, if we only focus on the pain and on the blood, then we'll think that's all there is, and that's going to go into perpetuity. No, the pain and the blood only last for a time. And then you see a beautiful new life. And most women, almost as soon as that baby comes out, the pain is forgotten. Because now you've got a new task with this new life. And so I would encourage our people to really appreciate the time that we're in. And it's the time of a new birth. And it's the time when the old has to die in order to give way to the new. And this is what we're going through. And yeah, we got a lot of negativity, we got a lot of madness, we got a lot of foolish people who are in our way at the present time. But I'm a spiritual man. I'm a faithful man. I believe in the creator of the heavens and the earth. And I believe that there's another force, there's another power involved in this whole process. And that we are, like me, for instance, I can only speak personally. I know that I'm a very, very blessed individual. Because what I've done and what I continue to do, it's not based on me. Like, oh, Leo Muhammad is this wise man, this great person. No, beloved. I'm like the character that was played in the real Mccoy, damn fool man. But because I believe, because I have that kind of faith, because I know that there's something about all of this bigger than me, then I'm a blessed man, because I'm protected, I'm guided, I'm loved. I feel wrapped up in the bosom of God. That's how I feel. You see, because not a spooky God, not a vapor floating in the sky, a real live man, a black man. Black people are powerful, sister. And we got some powerful forces working with us as we speak. And so this is what makes me excited. This is what, when I jump out of my bed in the morning, I'm like a young child. I'm so excited about life, because despite all the negativity, despite all the madness, I know that we are on the cusp, on the verge of a brand new world. And it's not a new world order to be brought in by Biden or Putin or any of these demons, but it's to be brought in by the creator of the heavens and the earth, by the God of the African, by the God of the original people. That's the time frame that we're living in now, my sister. So please forgive me. I have to keep saying it, because you just give me too much latitude. You need to cut me off. You need to
I mean, you're coming with such
my mic,
analogies. You know, I mean, it was just wonderful listening to the analogy of what we're going through today in terms of the birthing pains and being able, going through the pain, but then the joy of giving birth to a new reality. Wow, wow, wow. It makes the birthing pains worthwhile, and really interesting way of looking at it. Time is running by so quickly. We're already an hour and 11 minutes into this live, and let me go to the chat, because I know our family want to interact with you, my brother Leo. So let me go over to the chat and bring in some of the comments, views and thoughts of our wonderful family members. So the Jamaican Jankra sent off enough fire for you. And we've got Lioness Ma who's saying, I'll call it. Looking at it. Time is running by. What happens there? That's not my one, hopefully. Nope. Okay, sorry about that, family. Not sure what happened there. Okay, Lioness is saying, yep, once a woman says, I can't do this, that's a telltale sign baby is about to arrive. Rise up, Lioness. And also said, I called it weeks ago that the UN are attempting to get them into Africa and give away our people's land, just like they did with Israel. Is this part of the plan, the Israel plan, to get the Ukrainians into Africa? And so we end up with an Israel situation? Brother Kwame Ossi says, Russia, no, not our friend. He was also saying Russia under the Wagner Group have more than 500,000 mercenaries in Africa, in places like DR Congo, CAR, Sudan, Mali. True, we can't forget the Cold War days when a lot of the arms that was on the continent of Russia was on the one hand being flooded there by Russia, and then on the other hand, you had the other European countries with all of their weapons, and you had the Americans with all of their weapons. It's like we have to be careful that, in all of our alliances, that we don't allow the continent to be used as a battlefield to finance other people's arms race. Let's rise up, our brother Jughead. Long time, my brother. Been missing you. I was actually talking about you on my show earlier today. I said, welcome to the brother. Oh, we're not here from brother Jeff for this little while. Rise up and thank you for the gifts and the donations as well, my brother. And he says it was Russia that supplied Menelik the second during the Battle of Adwa, 1896. Rise up, Brother Jeff. Yes, indeed, but we do need allies and we do need friends, but we also need to be mindful that, those allies and friends will have their own agenda, and that what's going on to a large extent is, a battle of who's going to be in control of this new world. It's a new world order that's unfolding. And, both of them are fighting to be the rulers of the world. And so, there's a major battle going on between those big countries. And we don't want to be caught up in the middle of it. But at the same time, we need to have our allies at the moment until we become all powerful and almighty, like we are really, and have the potential to be in this world, but just don't realize it right now. So what else I go on? So the Jamaican drunkers, me not stand with none of them. Me I encourage them to mash up each other. We have no friends outside of the race and very few friends within. True talk that, Jamaican drunk crowd, I agree with you on that. We have no friends as Africans. Our great scholar, John Henry Hart, said the same thing. I'm of that opinion. But at the same time, because we are where we are, we need allies, do we not? Or we're just going to, anyway, that is a conversation that we've been having on this channel and need to continue having as well. Okay, thank you so much for all four down for reminding everyone to please give us a thumbs up, give us a like, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. 117 people watching at the moment, but 119 now, but only 47 likes. Well, go on, like we are here. Oh my days, come on up, people. So hard. Don't be so hard on us. It's a free show, and a huge amount of work goes on behind the scenes to be able to organize for this platform to be able to run every Wednesday. And all you're being asked to do is give us a thumbs up. Not too much to ask, is it? Not too much to ask, is it, Brother Leo?
No, not too much to ask, my dear sister.
Oh boy, come on, family. You can do better than that. Let's see what else has been said in the chat. Seeing Charles says, we are creative human beings, and as a result are not stingy with the gifts from our Creator. They will always be behind us, even when we are at our worst. We just need to know ourselves. I think that question was probably posted at the time when we were talking about the culture bandits, those coming in and stealing from our culture and our creativity. The Jamaican Dranko is reminding us that we are at war with self. What a thing. And Kushni saying that glad that they've caught the live. We're glad you caught the live too. And what should matter is saying, don't pay them no mind. Don't pay no mind. Blue Zodiac above says, try buying your music from certain businesses. They charge you triple the price more than what it is worth. That's the next thing. When these people come in and they take up the business side of our creatives industry, they want to pay the creative and the artist little and next to nothing, and then take all of the huge profits that come from, the works of our artists. So, that's another thing. And then we do have this situation in our community where a lot of the artists have been brainwashed into thinking they ain't made it unless they've crossed over. They ain't made it unless, they're playing to white audiences. They ain't made it, unless they're entertaining the European audience. But we've got to realize that we can make our greats, and we do make our greats great as well. And the real Mccoy is testimony of that. Brother Jeff, another gift from you. Thank you so much. And your comment is correct, Brother Leo. White inventors used to regularly steal from Brother Elijah, hence the term the real Mccoy. Yeah, blessings to you, Sishanice and Leo. Brother Jeff, rise up yourself, rise up yourself. So do you have any questions for our brother? If you do, drop it in the chat. Kwame Ossie saying the NWO, the New World Order, is for who can control Africa. As the 8th Black president of the US said, Eisenhower, whoever controls Africa controls the world. Yes, indeed. We've often heard that saying. Rise up, we've got Mr. Wilfred in the house. He's saying in an interview, Schwab talked about Macron and Putin being in the same group. Russia is not our friend. Kwame says, I always thought we Africans never had a plan of how to live the white man, but only to fight them when our backs are against the wall. Maybe how to leave the white man. We've never had a plan, and we should have a plan. Of course, we should have had a plan. Brother Leo Mohammed, we are 50, 60 years post so-called independence, but still dependent on our former colonial masters. What do you think we need to do as a people, apart from wake up? What do you think we need to be doing practically, to remove ourselves from the clutches of our former colonizers? And of course, you might want to also make reference to the visit of Prince William and his wife, Kate, who went to Jamaica as the future king in waiting to come and see his subjects. When were we going to start standing on our own 2 feet, my brother Leo?
Yes, ma'am. That's my current subject on the Imagination show, which you can see behind me. That happens every Thursday evening, starting at 6:30, and we go live via Zoom and YouTube. But we were looking at this.
And if people are interested in jumping on that Zoom or that live YouTube event that happens on a Thursday, please give us the time and also the name of the channel so we can check it out.
So it's Image a Nation, and it takes place at 6:30 on a Thursday evening, live on YouTube and also on Zoom. But yeah, we were looking at this issue of the visit by William and Kate, and we did part 1 last Thursday. We're going to do part 2 tomorrow, God willing. But the point is that, again, if you look at the Prime Minister, Mr. Holness, what was he talking about in front of William in one of those meetings that they featured on some of the news broadcasts? He was talking about, we intend to be independent. But I'm a Jamaican. I thought Jamaica became independent in 1962. And so you see, now you've even got the politicians admitting what many of us have always known, that they gave us a flag and some political words that we could coalesce around. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says it like this. He says it's symbol without substance. Symbol without substance. And now basically everybody is admitting that they recognize that there has been no independence, because the Queen is still the head of state. And as you rightly said, my dear sister, they're now grooming William to be the new slave master, the new colonial master, hence why he came in his uniform, hence why he stood in the same Land Rover as his mother and Philip back in the day. Because it's the same attitude, nothing has changed. And then they use these mealy-mouthed platitude words, talking about, how he regrets, the same language that Tony Blair used when he was in office, but they're not going to say sorry, because to say sorry is an admission of guilt that was indeed a crime against humanity, and then that opens up the avenue for reparations. And so this is the language of legalese. They will never say we are sorry for what we did to you during 400 years of dehumanization. They can't do that, because if they do that, then, like I said, it then legally opens up the way for them to actually pay reparations and compensation for their evil done to African people, to black people in the Caribbean and throughout the Americas and the diaspora. And so, this is the reality of where we are today, that even though they would love for this idea of race to be buried and to be submerged, and for the whole world, when Obama came to power, for instance, there was this talk of a post-racial society, that now that we've got a black president, then, we can all be happy because racism is a thing of the past. But what you will notice is that race keeps coming up over and over and over again. Why is this? It's not because the enemy wants it to come up. The enemy wants to bury it. The enemy wants us to believe that there is no such thing as racism anymore. But as I said before, there's another power on scene. And the other power is the one who is making race to be top of the agenda. Why? Because it has to be dealt with. What happened to us has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with on the macro level, but also on the micro level in terms of the internal healing and reparations that we have to do for self, and how we have to fix ourselves based on our coming back to ourselves. But on the macro level, the enemy will pay. They have to pay. There is such a thing as divine retribution. And whether we really appreciate it or not, when you see these people, the scripture uses the language wars and rumors of wars, pestilence in diverse places, earthquakes. When you see these disasters unfolding everywhere around the world, and when you see Europeans, because there's some of the newscasters were complaining, oh my God, these are blonde-haired people. These are white people who are dying now in Ukraine. Well, let me tell you something. See, we're used to seeing black people die. We're used to seeing brown people die. We're used to seeing yellow people die. But did you know that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us as black people that a day was coming when the white man is going to die en masse? And guess what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said? He said that some of us love the enemy so much that we will have heart attacks when we see them dying, when we see them start suffering. Don't forget, you've even got some Africans now lining up to go and run over, but they're going to go and fight in Ukraine. I mean, we're sick, sister. It's a sickness. And so it's just important to appreciate that what we're also looking at, because the law of physics says that two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And so what you have is a fall in power and you have a rise in power. Mm-hmm. Whether we really understand it or not, Africa is on the rise. And when we say Africa, we're not just talking about the continent. We're talking about the diaspora. We're talking about global Africa. We're talking about wherever we're found on the planet. We are constantly being brought into the headlines of the media of the enemy, and even our own headlines like what you and I are making this evening, because it is our time to rise. And as we rise, they fall apart. In 2020, the subject matter for Saviour's Day, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan called it the unraveling of a great nation. And what you're looking at is when you see, I don't know if any of your viewers, Sister Shanice, really observe the politics taking place in North America right now. But this is supposed to be the most powerful country on the planet. The president is supposed to be the most powerful man on the planet. This is the egotistical, arrogant language that they use to describe themselves. The point is that when you observe America today, America is unraveling at the seams. America is becoming a basket case on this planet. Joe Biden can hardly string two words together without losing his train of thoughts. Okay, the man, I think it was yesterday, Barack Obama visited the White House for some event. And sister, it is embarrassing when you saw this black man strutting around in the White House and everybody's focus and attention was on the black man, on Obama. There's a reason for this. And the dynamic nature of his interaction with the people. And you saw they isolated Biden. You saw Biden wandering around in the same room, nobody talking to him. This is the president. This is unprecedented. But the point is that it may not look like anything. It may look like, okay, well, why would you even focus on that? Believe me, you are looking at a whole world coming apart. They no longer have the authority. When you see Russia and America now squaring up to one another in this way, and their philosophy of MAD. Do you know about MAD, which is mutual assured destruction? This is because they have between them 90% of the nuclear weapons on the planet, and so they have an agreement which is called MAD, mutual assured destruction, MAD. In that, why none of them will ever be the first one to use nuclear weapons, because it's mutually assured destruction. Because if one uses it, then the other one retaliates, and then you're looking at. But hear me well, sister. See, even that, many of us think, if these devils use nuclear weapons, that's the end of the planet. No. See this planet that we're on, sister? It's been here for trillions of years. I didn't say billions, trillions of years. And by the way, black people have been here. As long as the planet's been here, we've been here. We ain't no Johnny come lately people. Oh man, if only black people knew who we are. You understand?
As you mentioned that about, how long we've been here for, on my show earlier today, I was featuring an article that had been sent to me by our beloved sister, Wynne. And this article was talking about a secret NASA space expedition that had happened in collaboration between the USA and Russia. And someone who had been part of that secret expedition, who's now in his 70s, was actually disclosing what they found. So when they sent this mission to the moon, they actually managed to photograph what looked like a spaceship. And so this secret expedition was to go and investigate it further. They managed to get in to this spaceship, apparently, and there is an image of, there were two bodies that were in there. One that was intact, and another one that only the head was intact, and the rest of the body, which they described as an alien type body, was not intact at all. The body that was intact was that of an African woman.
Come on.
And you know how old they dated this African woman?
Come on.
Who was flying her own spaceship in space? 1.5 billion.
There you go.
Years old. 1.5 billion years old. And I might even have the presentation still on my screen. So if you'll allow me to, I will share screen just so that our family can see the image of this beautiful sister who was actually found on that spacecraft. And there's a video that's going on as well. I want to rise up the young sis on TikTok that brought this to my attention as well, because it's like sometimes when one person picks up on something, it just you just begin to find more information that comes your way.
Connection.
Yes, there is that connection. Can you see it, please, on the screen? Oh my days! This is the sis, our beautiful sister, Africa. This is her wearing the space control apparatus that she was using to control the spacecraft.
Come on.
And what you can't see at the top is that the pointed bit at the top that gives the shape of a pyramid goes into her pineal gland. This apparatus was from her pineal gland, covering her eyes and into her mouth. She was somehow steering this ship, this spaceship, the size of a city. The spaceship was the size of a city. Let me find, here is the spaceship that they found. This here is Eiffel Tower.
Mm-mm.
To give you an idea
Yes.
of the size and the scale of this spaceship. Yeah. And it was this secret mission between Russia and the US. Here we have it here, you know, that had gone in and investigated and found what was inside this object that they had been able to see on the moon. Wow, wow, wow. This is what it looks like from a distance. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's a beautiful that's a beautiful segue, sister, into
our sister.
yes.
1.5 that they've dated 1.5 million years old.
Yes.
Wow, wow, wow. And as we know, you know, those of us that have studied Kemet, that on the walls of Kemet,
see the hieroglyphics.
The hieroglyphics. Here's the hieroglyphics. And you can see here something that looks like a spaceship. Something that looks like maybe a submarine. Something that looks like a helicopter here. And there's another image that I've got here that they said is actually, they believe, depicting a flying saucer. Our African kings and queens, brothers and sisters, 5,000 years ago were visiting space. Here we have the rays of the sun, you know, was the spaceship being operated using solar power, using raw power, using the energy of the sun. But here it is in the hieroglyphics, you know, evidence that our people knew were space traveling, were flying, back in the days.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wow, I just had to share that because you was touching, my brother, on the age of who we are. This queen is dated 1.5 billion years old, and was found in a spaceship that she herself was flying. And here it is, information about the NASA missions, you know, evidence that they are out there actually exploring, you know, the moon and other planets out there because they believe that life exists. And why do they believe life exists? Because they've actually found evidence, know, that life exists out in space. And everywhere they go, whether they go to the moon or the stars or whether they dig, you know,
they see us, sister.
They see us.
Just us. It's just us, sister.
Just us. We keep popping up. The cheddar, you know, and we're there. And these are different missions. You know, let me just stop that share. I just had to bring that in.
Let me just say a few words on what you've just shared there, sister, because it's absolutely beautiful and it's really right where I wanted to go. Because you see, you know, it's sad that as a people, we can watch the white man go on his Apollo flights, sitting at the head of a rocket and go up, and he says he went to the moon in 1969 or whatever, and we see him going in and out of space in his shuttle. And we have no difficulty, we have no problem with that. The white man is traversing space. Now, brothers and sisters, see, do you really think that the creator of the heavens and the earth, the God of the universe, who is a black man, do you think that black man is impressed by these little toys that these Johnny-come-latelys who literally 4,000 years ago was in the caves and hillsides of Europe grunting? When in Kemet we had underfloor heating. Wearing silk. See, there's a reason why they can't tell you how the pyramids were built. And all of their theories are just theories. See what I've got behind me? See those pyramids? See, you see, it's important to understand and appreciate. And the hieroglyphics. See, because it's important for us to appreciate, dear family, that we are the builders of ancient civilizations that surpass anything in the modern era. Right. It's just that we don't understand. We've followed the white man's version of history, and so we think that things began in a big bang of chaos, and then gradually things have become more and more ordered and more structured. No, you've got it backwards. In the beginning was order. In the beginning, there was a level of sophistication and development that would make your hair just fall out in terms of an appreciation. See, this is why when you read your scriptures and you see how we used to live 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 years, Methuselah nearly 1,000 years. See what you've got to understand when you're looking at people today who we're dying at 70 years old, and we're standing at the graveside talking about, oh, he had a good run or she had a good run. No, the scripture says in that day they will die at 100 years old as babies. Babies. We used to live 1,000 years because we knew how to live. We used to go in and out of the universe, in and out of space, like that was just everyday stuff for black people. We communicated once upon a time via what they call telepathy. We didn't even have to open our mouth. We built mathematical systems that are buried today underneath the sands of the deserts and are buried in the oceans and are hidden away from these people. Because if these there's a reason why they're always doing archaeology and digging. They're searching. There's a reason why. See, by the way, I think that ship, sister, it was on the dark side of the moon that they saw it, and they've found pyramids on the moon.
Yes,
they've found pyramids on Mars.
Yes,
because it
and faces of Africans.
Oh, come on, it's us. See, but guess what? Guess what, sis? See, this is not just about our ancients. We have these vehicles today. See, when you hear these people talking about UFOs, sister, there ain't no little men from Mars coming. There are no little green men. These are black people who are flying in and out. See, and by the way, the governments, the top governments, the American government, the Pentagon, do you know that UFOs are classified above top secret? Above top secret. Not even the presidents, because the presidents only serve for 4 or 8 years. It's on a need to know basis. Most of the presidents don't even know that it's kept from them, because they're a temporary thing that's going to be in the White House for a period of time, then they're gone. So they can't even know some of these secrets. But I'll close on this. Make no mistake about it. See, a lot of people don't get us in the nation, why we're so confident, why we're so bold, the things. Some people, you lot talk about a spaceship. Oh, yeah. The scripture says that when he comes, he will come in the clouds of heaven displaying awesome power. Now, in our fairy tale minds, because we've been brought up on cartoons and talking rabbits and talking cats and dogs or whatever, we got this cartoon mentality. So we imagine a man with some Kentucky Fried Chicken wings on his back flying in the clouds. No, dear family. It's not talking about no foolishness like that. That when the God comes, he comes in a vehicle. And the vehicle that he's traveling in, like my sister showed you that image of a city in the sky. That's the kind of vehicle we're talking about here. That makes the Eiffel Tower look like a matchstick. Okay? Makes their biggest aircraft carrier look like a child's toy. This is the kind of technology that the black man and the black woman possess today. That's how the God is moving. Okay? And one of these days, dear family, you're going to see these so-called flying saucers, because they're small ones. We call them baby wheels. But they're actually designed to destroy the enemy once the enemy makes a particular move. So this is why we're not worried. This is what Bob Marley said. Have no fear for atomic energy, for none of them can stop the time. This is Bob Marley's lyrics. And the reason why I would quote him is because whenever they question Bob, where do you get your lyrics from? Jah, Rastafari. In other words, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Not Selassie in the sense of that individual man, but Selassie is connected to the creator. You're connected to the creator. I'm connected to the creator. The inspiration comes from the creator who channels messages into our prophets, whether they be the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who said, look for me in the whirlwind. Look for me, because I'm coming back. See, these greats, they don't die, beloved. We don't die as black people. We multiply. We don't die. This is why we got to get rid of this fear mentality that some of us have got, which stops us from doing what we're supposed to do. Why is Leo so excited and does what he does? Because we have no fear. See, fear is not our makeup. That's not our nature, because there is a God unseen. There is a power unseen which belongs to us. And we've just got to align ourselves with the power, with the real power. Because these people have been allowed a certain amount of time to create mayhem on our planet. But that time of mayhem is rapidly coming to an end. And one of the brothers or sisters who made a comment that you read out earlier on, sister, talked about them basically annihilating each other. That's going to happen. Okay, we're not forgetting Valve. Okay, they're going to destroy themselves, because that's how ignorant and stupid and foolish, because they're little 6-day-old children. They've only been on the planet for 6,000 years, while we are called in the scripture the Ancient of Days. Whenever the first day was, we were here. That's how old we are. And so these vehicles are going to be seen over the major cities of the world. And when they come, don't make the mistake of running into walls and start panicking, running with your white neighbors. Don't run. That's our family that we're going to be seeing making an appearance. There's a time coming. That day's coming. And so I would just say to our people, don't be in despair, and don't, be a disbeliever, because even the Pentagon recently had to admit that the so-called UFOs are real, okay? And they don't belong to the American government. They don't belong to the Russian government. They don't belong to the Chinese. They don't belong to, but we know who they belong to. And they're not coming from another terrestrial realm. They're not coming from another, they're not extraterrestrials. They're right from this earth. Okay, but we travel. We can travel throughout space. We visit other planets. And by the way, some of the other planets are inhabited. These are part and parcel of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I hope, Sister Shanice, that in the future, what we can do, hopefully we can actually focus on this subject, and then we can bring some imagery and everything, and we can talk about it in depth, because our people need to be taught about the reality of what we call in the nation the wheel, okay, which is the city in the sky, and then the baby wheels that come out of that big wheel, and that people see all the time, flying around at tremendous speeds, not only through the air, but they go underwater, and they move just as fast underwater as they do in the air. And it's phenomenal. And they've even got video footage of these things moving through space like this, nice and slow like this. And then all of a sudden, they change direction. They just change direction. They can't explain how anything can move like that, change direction and disappear, go in that direction. And then you see a missile come up from space, because the devil is trying to shoot them down. The devil knows about them. He knows who the pilots are. He knows God. We're the only ones who believe that God is a spook floating on a cloud, and that is a big fat white man with a big beard. We're the only people who think like that. But the enemy knows that God is a man. And one of the things he's got to do more than anything else is keep me and you ignorant of the reality of God, so that we don't line up our hearts and minds with God and become one with God, because he's actually come for our salvation, to take us out of this cauldron of madness that we've been in for the last 400 plus years. And so that's why That's, if anybody wants to know why I'm so excited and why I talk the way I do and why I do what I do, because I am supremely confident as a little baby student that this is our time, and that there is a power greater than any power on this planet right now that is with us if we are with the power. We can't continue to, and you know, one of the things that needs to happen is, have you ever heard the term "make your mind up" time? So there's a scripture in the Bible that says you cannot serve two masters. You either love one and hate the other one. And so you can't be indecisive today. You can't try and keep one foot with the devil and one foot with God, waiting to see who you think is going to win. And if you think the devil is going to win, you jump with the devil. Yeah, I was always with you, devil. You understand what I'm saying? Or if you think God is going to win, you're going to jump with God. You can't do that. There's a scripture that says that those people, they're called lukewarm. Those people who try to straddle the middle, they will be found in the lowest depth of the fire. They are the most hated because they are trying to play both sides. In the end, what has to happen is that all of us have got to make up our mind. We're either with God or we're with Satan. Remember what George W. Bush said? He said, you're either with us or you're with the terrorist. Well, God says the same thing. You're either with me or you're with the enemy. We have to make up our minds and we have to choose a side, because that's what we're looking at right now. This is the kind of reckoning that's taking place on our planet right now. It is a war between good and evil. It is a war between God and Satan, and both are real. Satan is real. There's no creature with two horns, a pitchfork and a tail and a red skin under the ground. He doesn't exist. Nothing or no one looking like that has ever done no harm to you as a black man or a black woman. The one who did harm to you was probably wearing a pinstripe suit, or he's wearing a police uniform, or he was dressed in some other fashion, but he had blonde hair, blue eyes, or brunette, or ginger, or whatever it was. Okay? The devil is real. The devil ain't no horned creature buried somewhere underneath the ground in a fire that continuously burns and never burn out. Okay? This is just, things that we as a people have to come to terms with and understand that. I'll finish like this, Sister Shanice, on what I'm saying.
Yeah, before you finish, I just want to go to the chat. Maybe just include some of the comments from some of our viewers, and then have you wrap up. Are you seeing the comments, my brother? Are you able to see?
No, I'm not, because I'm not on. Are these comments on YouTube?
In YouTube, yeah. So I'll just bring in a few of the comments and see what people are saying. So Mr. Wilfred saying, 400 years of mayhem. Lioness Mars saying, love watching the skies, and I have seen so many in my lifetime. Mr. Wilfred's back in again. He's saying, please do a session on this with the images as well. Kwame said, I'm with neither. I'm with the African. Blue Zodiac saying, I'd like to know if these spaceships come down to refuel. And Blue Zodiac is also asking, when were these spaceships launched? Or we'll have to come back to that. African Last Born, exactly. We still have the telepathic knowledge of transfer of information, but Christianity has discouraged Black people not to use the knowledge, but rely on Western knowledge, which is at its low level. Diana Smith is saying that they found cities too. Kwame Ossi, even if I was the so-called white man, even if the so-called white man went to space, it was Black women whose mathematical calculations enabled them to go to space. Remember that film, Hidden Figures? Yes, indeed. African Last Born is saying that we can't regain our knowledge through Western books. But some of them may help, but we certainly have to tap into our spirit for that, to download the information that is there in our DNA from our parents. We are, the descendants of the original people, and that knowledge And the all-powerful knowledge and information that we had way back then, we still have in our DNA. But, because of all of the pollution of the mind and the distractions and the mudding of our history and the disconnect that has happened as a result of those 400 years. A lot of us need to, Sankofa, go back and reconnect with who we are and who we were, so that we can, be in a position so we can download all of that information from time gone by. Because, I am the daughter of my mother, who's the daughter of her mother, who's the daughter of her mother.
Come on.
All the way back 1.5 million years. We have that knowledge in our DNA. We just need to know how to tap into it. And then, as you say, my brother, we will be able to, again, be the all-powerful, the almighty that we are. We are the all-powerful. We are the almighty as a people. The power rests within us. Look at what our ancestors were able to accomplish.
Come on.
Look at what they were able to do. That ability lies within us. We just need to know how to tap into it, and then know how to channel it, for the betterment and the upliftment of us as a people. Someone said that, as much as they dig, they've only been able to find 1% of the knowledge or so that we had back in the days. And isn't that a good thing? Because look at what they're doing with the 1%. Imagine if they were able to discover, all of the knowledge that we had as a people. Kwame Ossi saying the white man went to Mars and found images of black people there, images like the Olmec heads and the Ahem Erket, the Sphinx. Wow. Lioness says, yes, funny, I was just talking to someone about the footage of that queen in the spacecraft yesterday, because it's been running on my mind the past few days. Was wondering if it was, and still is, online. Yes, it is. They called her Mona Lisa, but if you Google Mona Lisa, you're going to see some whitewashed image like you do of all of the great African ancestors of ours. These are people who crawled out the caves, like you say, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago on all fours, no history, no culture, no language, no nothing. So they had to rewrite history so that they could write themselves into our history. And that's what they've done. They've completely whitewashed history. Those 400 years when they prevented us from reading, gave them the opportunity to rewrite our history.
That's correct.
And that's what they did. They've rewritten our history by writing us out of history, whitewashing our history, and writing themselves into history. These people.
Stolen legacy, sister. Stolen identity. There's been identity theft.
Hey, big time, damn teeth then. Everything. But my brother, let me give you the final words. I know I said you'd only be with us for an hour. It's almost 2 hours.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I would like us to plan. I would like us to definitely plan a show looking specifically at the UFO phenomena. Because our people need to know the reality of this and stop believing all this nonsense. But I'll close like this, my dear sister. And once again, I'm so thankful and grateful to you for having me on your show, and it's been a tremendous honor for me to have this opportunity. And I'll close like this by saying to our people, I just want you to think for a second. I want you to think about the most exciting movie that you've ever seen. Whether it was The Matrix, whether it was The Terminator, whether it was, The Great Escape, whether it was The Great Gatsby, whatever. I don't know what films you like or whatever, but I'm saying this to you, dear family. See, almost every film, there's a particular formula. And the star of the film, be that person a male or a female, young or old, at a certain point during the film, what you'll find is that the star of the movie comes under some type, if it's a drama, if it's a suspense or whatever, an action film or whatever, they come under tremendous pressure or strain, or they become endangered, or they risk losing everything, including their lives. It gets to a point where a climax is built to the point where the star of the movie literally looks as if they have lost. They cannot prevail. And then in the final analysis, that star, that character wins the day. And it's like, wow, that's what we enjoy about going to the movies. It's the impossibility of the task ahead of the person who prevails against the odds. Well, I'll say it like this to us, dear family. I don't care what movie you've seen. I don't care how that film sticks in your mind and still gives you shivers. You still get goosebumps when you think about what that person went through. And by the way, it may not even be a drama. It may not even be a film. It could have been a documentary. It could have been something. Because I've seen some documentaries, man, of our people who have served 47 years in prison for a crime they did not commit, and then come out and become this beautiful human being who is just so humble and so gracious and has a wonderful voice singing and ends up doing X Factor, but spent all that time in prison for a crime they didn't commit. And I'm like, I'm crying, physically crying, watching this individual, because I'm saying, my God, look at how beautiful black people are. We're the only people who could go through that. Nelson Mandela, 27 years. Just because he had aspirations for the deliverance of the South African black people, and to come out and then to be so gracious to these devil people. I said, my God, my God. I'm saying, family, I don't care what the event was, what the circumstance was, what the movie was, whatever it was that thrilled you, that terrified you, that gave you that hope, because in the end there was perseverance, and in the end there was victory. There is no movie, there is no story greater than your individual life that you're living right now. You are in the greatest story ever told. And this is how this is why my show is called Image and Nation. The way they say it in general language is imagination. But we have to once again begin to use our imagination and begin to visualize that which we want to make manifest in this world, because we have that ability. And there is no story, no movie greater than your life right now. And I'm saying to all of you who are watching and listening to Sister Sanisha's show, you're here. Guess how you got here, man? Did you know that your father emitted something like 1 billion sperm into your mother? And when that happened, that your mother has natural defense mechanisms within her vaginal tract and within her private places that went to war against those sperm, and that those sperm had to swim against the gravitational pull of the universe to get to the egg. And did you know that every one of those billion sperm lost their life in a war, in a battle to get to that egg, and only one sperm made it to the egg, family? And that one sperm had to beat its head. All it had was a head and a tail. No real intelligence as such, but it had a predetermined goal, and it had to bang its head against this membrane called the ovum or the egg. And did you know that it magically opened up, and that egg went inside and lost its tail, and then that egg and that ovum joined forces and began to multiply from a single cell into something like 6 trillion cells? And then some brains were formed, and then a head was formed, and then that brain and that head called into existence arms, called into existence fingers, called into existence legs, called into existence all of what today constitutes our body. And do you know that that body gestated for 9 months in the womb of your mother? And then did you know that your mother had to go through fainting and pain, and that you went through hell being pushed through that narrow birth canal to come into this life? Do you understand the odds against you being here today? That you survived over 1,000,000,000 to 1 to be here? Do you know that when you sit around today complaining that, boy, life too hard, it's too tough, I can't take it. Do you understand what you already succeeded against to be here? That your story is the greatest story ever told, and that you're not here by accident. You're here because the Creator has got something for you to do here today. Come on, man. I'm telling you, family, understand who you are. You are not here for anybody's conjecture. You are not here by accident. You were chosen from the womb of your mother. And you have a mission. We have a mission. And if we will just have that image and nation, we can bring it into reality all over again. You are a very special individual. You're a very special person. And together, collectively, we are, I think Sister Shanice, I don't know if she was really saying it like that, but when she made some remarks a minute ago, she said, we are the God. We are the power. Collectively, that's who we are. Okay, and we just got to understand that. Come together, man, and start manifesting our power. And our power, by the way, is pure love. It is the greatest force in the universe. Learn to love yourself. Love yourself. Love your wife. Love your husband. Love your children, man. Love your family. Love your community. Love your nation. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't do evil. Don't follow that satanic mind. Be yourself. Be your authentic self. Did you know that every black person, before they go to do something that's wrong, a voice inside of them talks to them and says, don't do it? That's how you see, you can't do like the white man does, because we got an inbuilt conscience. That's why it's called intuition. An inner tutor, an inner teacher. That's why it's called intelligence. It's an internal telling. It tells you what's right and what's wrong. That's the God within. Learn to obey that voice, dear family, and let us get up and let us do something for ourselves. We have it within us to do. We can do it. We will do it. This is our time. And I just feel very blessed to have an opportunity as a student to share with you what I'm learning from the master teachers that I've been exposed to. And the number one master teacher, his name is Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Study that man. Go on YouTube, find him, listen to that man, because that man is the greatest teacher and the greatest liberator that we have among us today as a people. He is for us. He don't have to know you personally. He loves us as a people. And he is the man that I'm following. That's my example. And I just thank you for allowing me this time and this opportunity to just share with you. Thank you, Sister Shanice. I hope that we did something for our people this evening.
Thank you so much, Brother Leo Muhammad. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have had you as a guest on our show today. Our family are just sending love hearts and fires in the chat. There's 100% from Don Dredd, and they're talking about their favorite shows. As V has come up as, and that was one of my favorites actually.
Which one? V.
Remember?
Yeah.
Someone described it well. They look like white people, but when they got on their spaceship, they would strip off their skin and they were aliens underneath. But yeah, enough love, enough Budum and love coming from the chat your way, my brother. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful hearing from you. And I'm sure
time went very quick, sister.
Didn't it?
They say time flies when you're enjoying yourself. I really enjoyed myself.
Oh, that's so good. So hopefully it won't be too long before you come back, and we will do that series, do that show rather on the
so-called UFOs.
Yes, us space traveling.
Us, beloved. It's about us. By the way, sister, you look extremely beautiful. In
Oh,
the
thank
sun.
you.
You got the sun coming out of your skin.
The African sun.
I'm a
Yes.
little bit jealous. I am a little bit jealous.
Don't get jealous. Get on the train.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm
Yeah,
coming.
yeah,
I'm
I highly
coming.
recommend it. So, family, thank you everyone in the audience that has joined us today. To each and every one of you that have commented in the chat, we thank you so, so much. For those of you who are going to go on to share the link, thank you so, so much. For those of you who have already subscribed and those who are about to subscribe, thank you so, so much. More love, more power, more vodum. People, we are mighty. We are the Almighty. Our brother says we are the gods, as a collective. So let's come together in unity and in strength, because as one people, when we would unite, we are a formidable force as a people. And as our brother said, it's time to stop being the victims and to become the victors.
That's right.
Brother Leo, absolutely send enough love and respect out to you, my brother. Thank you so, so much. Family, Sister Shanice out of here for now. Join us next strong. We are going to be in the house with our panel. Yeah, we're going to be black with a panel discussion with none other than Dr. Abu, Brother Jammers, Sister Sheila, and Brother Kwame Gonza. So make sure you're joining us next strong next Wednesday. And also tomorrow, join our brother Leo Muhammad or live on YouTube, Image a Nation, Image a Nation, 6:30 every Thursday for more from our brother Leo Muhammad. Enough love, my brother.
Take care, my sister. Take care, family.
You too. Out of here for now. One love. Whoa, look at that handsome man there. Hey.